is going also without a bloodshed. I think that is what we should all be grateful of. I have to cry because I'm losing somebody that I love. So that's why I'm sad. But I'm happy because he came into this country without a bloodshed.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Gambia News Today, your go-to channel for the latest updates on all things Gambia. In today's video, we'll be delving into intriguing topic of why Yahya Jammeh, the former president of the Gambia, might never return to his home country. Stay tuned as we present to you some compelling reasons backed by detailed analysis. Let's get started. Before we dive into the reasons, let's provide some context for those who may not be familiar with Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh was born on May 25, 1965. Jammeh ruled the Gambia for 22 years from 1994 to 2017 after coming to power through a military coup. He has been living in exile in Equatorial Guinea since January 2017. Now let's explore the reasons behind the potential absence from the Gambia.
Our hands was tied in pickup, white pickup. We have one Gambian and one Nigerian, and we have 6 as Kenyans. One officer used the cutlass and cut the backbone of one Nigerian, and he was not able to survive at that time. The blood is full in pickup. So now everybody realized that these people are going to kill it.
Number 1. Human rights abuses. One of the key reasons Jammeh might never return is the extensive list of human rights abuses associated with his regime. During his tenure, allegations of torture, extrajudicial killings and disappearance were widespread. International organizations and human rights activists have called for the prosecution, making his return politically risky.
We want answers, and we want justice, and we will not give up until those who are responsible are held accountable.
There are allegations on extrajudicial killings. Jammeh's regime has been accused of carrying out numerous extrajudicial killings targeting journalists, political activists, and perceived opponents. One notable case is the murder of journalist Dada Haidara in 2004, who was known for criticizing the government. Jammeh's hit squad, known as the Junglers, has been implicated in several of these killings.
Killing of Dada Haidara. It must be Yahya Jammeh.
Yes, Council.
You executed him in cold blood.
Yes, Council.
Cases of torture and ill treatment. There have been widespread reports of torture and ill treatment of detainees under Jammeh's regime. This includes beatings, electric shocks, sexual violence, and the use of stress positions. The National Intelligence Agency, NIA, under Jammeh's control, has been accused of being responsible for much of the torture and abuse. Jammeh's regime consistently targeted political opposition, suppressing their activities through intimidation, harassment, and arrest. Opposition members face violence, arbitrary detention, and restrictions on their freedom of assembly and expression. Elections were often marred by irregularities and allegations of voter intimidation.
I was tortured seriously. Yeah, I was tortured inside my office here. On my way taking me to NIA also, I was tortured inside the vehicle. Yeah, because they hit me with a gun 4 times. Yeah. They asked me, what's your name? I told them my name is Tijan. Then he said, your surname? I told him Baro. Say, your surname will not favor you.
Cases of enforced disappearances has been implicated, where individuals are abducted and held in secret detention facilities, often without any legal process. The victims include journalists, opposition figures, and members of ethnic communities perceived as a threat. Their fate and whereabouts remain unknown in many cases. Under Jammeh's rule, there were severe restrictions on freedom of expression. Journalists and media organizations faced censorship, harassment, and closure. Many journalists were forced into exile or faced imprisonment for critical reporting. The government controlled the media landscape and used state-owned outlets to promote its propaganda. These claims and facts are based on reports from various human rights organizations, testimonies of victims and witnesses, and investigation carried out after Jammeh's ousting. Since leaving power, Jammeh has been living in exile in Equatorial Guinea, and efforts to hold him accountable for his alleged human rights abuses are ongoing. Another factor that makes Jammeh's return uncertain is the extensive corruption and financial misconduct that occurred under his leadership. Reports suggest that he embezzled millions of dollars from state coffers, leaving the country in significant debt. The fear of being held accountable for his actions could deter his return. Yahya Jammeh ruled the country with an iron fist for more than 2 decades, and there were numerous allegations of corruption and financial misconduct. These are some key points regarding corruption and financial misconduct during Yahya Jammeh's rule. Jammeh and his inner circle were accused of siphoning off state funds for personal gain. They allegedly used the country's resources to fund lavish lifestyle, luxurious properties, and expensive overseas trips. Under Jammeh's rule, the Gambia's economy suffered due to mismanagement and corruption. Public funds that were meant for developmental projects and social welfare were reportedly embezzled by officials and cronies close to the regime.
Okay, Gambia is poor. There are a lot of factors that contributed to the poorness of the country. One, we have the leaders have already failed us, you understand? Because when you look in the other aspect of it, what we were expecting from our leaders, they already failed us.
After Jammeh was forced into exile in Equatorial Guinea in 2017, reports emerged that he allegedly looted the country's treasury before leaving. The new government initiated efforts to recover assets that were suspected to have acquired through corrupt means during his tenure. Jammeh's regime weakened institutions that were meant to provide oversight and accountability, such as the judiciary and the media. This lack of independence allowed corruption to thrive without adequate checks and balances. There were accusations that the government officials engaged in extortion and bribery, demanding kickbacks from businesses and individuals in exchange for favorable treatment or protection from harassment. The issue of corruption and financial misconduct during Yahya Jammeh's rule remains a significant challenge for the Gambia, as it seeks to rebuild and strengthen its institution around new leadership. Numerous international organizations, including the African Union and the United Nations, have expressed concerns about Jammeh's alleged crimes against humanity. There have been extradition requests to bring him to justice in the Gambia or international courts. The international pressure on Jammeh adds another layer of complexity to his potential return. If Yahya Jammeh were to return to the Gambia, he would likely face immediate arrest and prosecution for alleged human rights abuses, corruption, and other crimes committed during his rule. The establishment of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission (TRRC) in the Gambia has been gathering evidence and testimonies against him, increasing the likelihood of his prosecution if he were likely to set foot in the country. The ICC, as an international court of the last resort for serious crimes, has the authority to investigate and prosecute individuals for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Although the ICC had not officially opened an investigation into Jammeh, the possibility remains. If the ICC were to take up the case and issue an arrest warrant, it would further limit Jammeh's ability to travel freely and potentially increase the likelihood of his arrest in any ICC member country. Another factor that might deter Jammeh from returning to the Gambia is the possibility of retribution from the Gambia people. Many citizens suffered under his regime, and there could be individuals or groups who may seek revenge if he were to come back, potentially putting his safety at risk. Overall, the combination of international pressure, the threat of prosecution, potential extradition requests, and the risk of regional and international isolation make it highly unlikely for Yahya Jammeh to consider returning to the Gambia anytime soon. As long as these factors persist, he is likely to remain in exile in Equatorial Guinea, where he might feel safer from arrest and prosecution. The legal consequences that await Jammeh if he returns cannot be ignored. The current government, supported by the international institutions, is determined to hold him accountable for his alleged crimes. the legal challenges and potential trials would make his return a risky and unlikely endeavor. Jammeh's authoritarian rule and the atrocities committed during his time in power significantly eroded his popular support. The Gambian people, who yearned for change, rallied behind President Adama Barrow, the current leader, and it's unlikely that Jammeh would be welcomed back with an open arm by the population that suffered under his regime. His return to the Gambia could pose significant security risk, given the political tensions and potential unrest that his arrival might generate. Both the Gambian and the international security forces would have concerns. This factor, along with other considerations, make it highly improbable for Jammeh to make a triumphant return.
Having been the lucky person to be chosen by you, I sincerely assure you, each and every one of you, that I will do all I can and utilize every resource at my disposal to make the Gambia a better place for us all.
One of the reasons why economic stabilization is seen as a factor or reason for Yahya Jammeh's reluctance to return to the Gambia is the state of the country's economy during his tenure. Under Jammeh's rule, the Gambia faced significant economic challenges and mismanagement. During his presidency, Jammeh implemented economic policies that were often criticized for their inefficiency and lack of transparency. The country's economy heavily relied on agriculture, particularly groundnut production and tourism. However, Jammeh's administration did not effectively diversify the economy or invest in sectors with long-term growth potential. This lack of diversification left the Gambia vulnerable to external shocks and fluctuations in commodity prices. The Gambia also faced international isolation during Jammeh's regime, as many Western countries, including the United States and the European Union, imposed sanctions and reduced aid due to human rights concerns. These sanctions and decreased foreign assistance further strained the country's economy. Since Jammeh's departure, the Gambia has been making efforts to rebuild its economy and strengthen democratic institutions. The new government under President Adama Barrow has focused on improving governance, restoring human rights, and attracting foreign investment. Reforms have been implemented to enhance transparency, combat corruption, and diversify the economy beyond traditional sectors. Given the economic challenges and allegations of corruption associated with Jammeh's rule, it is understandable that the economic stabilization is considered a crucial factor in his reluctance to return to the Gambia. His presence could potentially disrupt the ongoing efforts to rebuild the country's economy and strengthen democratic institutions, as well as expose him to legal consequences for any alleged wrongdoings during his presidency. As we wrap up today's video, we have explored some compelling reasons why Yahya Jammeh might never return to the Gambia. From human rights abuses and corruption to the ongoing process of truth and reconciliation, numerous factors make his comeback highly improbable. We will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates should any developments occur. Remember to subscribe to the Gambia News Today for more stories and analysis about the Gambia. Thanks for watching.